Hi everyone, me again. Took me some time, but we're finally sitting behind the person behind the Mira Hurley persona, Milan de Reede, and we talk about how a central banker have used a fake online persona to escape corporate surveillance, and how his worlds had collided when he got doxed, and how he's currently looking to solve the AI accessibility problem with NanoGPT. Hope you find some value in this, and if you did, subscribe and leave a comment down below. Thanks. The man behind Mira Hurley himself, and one of the kindest human beings to ever push the widespread adoption of crypto, Milan de Reede. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for that very kind description. I tried my best on the always fun and always fiery Twitter.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and outside of the Mira Hurley persona that frankly really instantiated a lot of the YouTube stuff for me and feeless currencies. But yeah, go ahead, take the stage.
Yeah. So Milan, as you said, I got into crypto quite early, like around 2012, because I was always sort of interested in online money. I've talked about this before, but I played this online game, and it was a sort of international game. You played in a team, and we had to send money between players. And someone suggested like, hey, there's this thing called Bitcoin. We might as well try like using that to send money between us. So I got into crypto that way back then, and then have a long, boring story of working in a central bank, being in crypto at the same time, trying to write articles because I thought, I thought and think crypto is a good thing, so I wanted to educate people on like why it's a good thing, how it works, all that kind of stuff. At some point, quit my job at the central bank and ended up setting up my own company together with a co-founder, which is NanoGPT. It's a very simple idea. Essentially, our thinking was similar really to how we think crypto can sort of make the world, make finance more accessible for many people, make sort of banking more accessible for many people. We thought AI needs to be more accessible for many people. So we decided to set up NanoGPT with the idea of making AI available to everyone, not just if you live in the US, not just if you have a credit card, not just if you have a strong PC, just anyone should be able to use AI models. So that's why we set up NanoGPT. And yeah, I guess that's where we are today. On a more personal level, I like running nowadays quite a bit because it's easy. You can do it anywhere. I travel quite a bit, so it's always easy to just get out the door. Currently in France, so always traveling between countries really. In France because my girlfriend just did an Ironman in Germany. Now we have a wedding in Spain, so we're driving Germany to Spain. But yes,
He's
she's
always on the go.
she deserves all the applause, man. Like watching an Iron Man, it's insane. It's crazy. In the sweltering heat as well. But yeah, so that's the short story of Milan.
Of Milan. And
Yes.
outside of that, did you get any help or like kind of like guidance for like being advised on running the Mira Hurley account with your co-founder? From my understanding, this was your current co-founder for NanoGPT used to be your co-worker at the Dutch Central Bank, right?
No. We actually met each other on Twitter.
Oh, cool.
So we met through both of us like Nano, Nano the crypto. And I had set up like a very simple version of NanoGPT just as a sort of Telegram bot. Like just you could like send a message on Telegram and ChatGPT would respond to you. It was a very simple implementation. And he reached out to me. At the time, I was Mira Hurley, which we'll get to, I'm sure. He reached out to me. He had an anonymous picture of some monkey or something. And he was like, I really love this idea of making it more accessible. So I think we should set up a website to really make it easier for everyone. Not everyone uses Telegram. And that's kind of how it got started. And he had no clue what my actual name was. I had no clue what his actual name was. Well, I guess he maybe thought I was a girl actually at the time. So it was sort of it's a very nice story of just two random people meeting over Twitter and then ending up like building an actual company together. But no, I had no clue who he was beforehand. the first time we ever saw each other's face was when we had to do a call with an external party. And we decided, okay, like we need to at least know each other's names beforehand. So we did a video call while I was in Argentina, I think. And he was like, "Yeah, so my name is like I won't dox him because he
Okay,
tries to
yeah,
be
yeah.
anonymous." But yeah, before that we had no clue. So
That's
yeah,
so fascinating. It's interesting. And I'm like, you guys have been working together for years now at this point, right?
yeah,
On
yeah,
NanoGPT. And I think that's like so fascinating when it comes to like online collaborations and just like the idea of work. Because since now there's like AI agents where you kind of just like talk to and you just see strings of texts, right?
yeah,
Whereas like some people have been sent to like AI psychosis because like they start believing it's a real entity,
yeah.
and I can't even imagine how that collaboration process was like for you guys.
Yeah, it was a bit crazy because so at the time it did make a lot of sense because I think my idea of setting this up was good, but I had no clue how to build a website or how to do anything around this. I was just messing about with like having ChatGPT explain to me how to build like a simple bot and all that kind of stuff. And Huggy is an actual software engineer. He has the background in this, so he could sort of bring this further, and then I would do sort of the marketing business side and whatever. But it was such a random sort of coming together, right? And I think often that would fail because I think anyone who starts a company will tell you the most important decision is like your co-founder or your first hire if you don't have a co-founder. And this was like the most random way of finding a co-founder, right? Because neither of us really thought it would grow into something big. It was just let's give this a try. But yeah, it's been an interesting way of doing things. It's also we are very much remote first, right? Because we only see each other twice a year. We saw each other at Bitcoin Las Vegas.
In person rather, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The first
Okay.
time we ever met was at a crypto conference that we saw each other in real life. We'd never met before. That was like a year and a half into building NanoGPT, I think. So yeah,
Very interesting. That's actually, I'm I'm glad that you guys were able to like make it work and build NanoGPT to like what it is now. I Yeah, I can't even imagine a world like that where it's like, hey, like I'm going to this conference by the way. Like, are you gonna be around or like, what's up? Like, oh yeah, I'm in this corner. Like, this other
yeah.
person is like expecting the Mira Hurley persona in itself.
Yeah. 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 It was very funny to meet each other. I think neither of us, like, you see the picture sort of, or you see WhatsApp, like video call, but it's still kind of different when you see them in real life, right? Like,
Of
you don't
course.
know how sort of tall someone is. And when you see them in real life, you're like, ah, okay. Like, I had a totally different idea of what you would be like. But yeah, it's been surprisingly good. Like, also in Las Vegas, where we had the Bitcoin conference, we spent like a week together, and it's great because for all the sort of you can do a lot just talking to each other over video calls and like
Yeah.
text and whatever, but it also really helps to actually see each other, right? To like talk things through and like brainstorm some ideas and such.
So you also get a general like vibe check, so to
Yes,
speak, with the other person, right? Like if you guys don't
exactly.
get along, then it's really hard to like build a company if you don't get along with somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So no, it's worked out really well, and I think both of us are very happy with how it's gone. Also because nowadays the models are really good, right? So they can do coding tasks. The models are fantastic at. So over time, I've moved more towards being able to do actual software development because of the models. And Huggy at the same time, he started as software engineer and now he's become more like general business, like everything. And he also himself sees it as like, okay, I'm happy. I'm no longer sort of software engineer, right?
Just
Like
a software engineer, right? Like,
exactly, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think both of us have sort of learned quite a bit from it and like grown in all the stuff that we can now do. Because we saw the other person doing it, and then it's like, ah, I'm sure I can do this too. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
yeah, it's like learning by osmosis at that point.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But rewinding a little bit back, you guys have never met for like a year and a half prior to you like actually like meeting in person and stuff like that. Like, what instantiated the idea, the concept of just being an anonymous figure online
Yeah.
to, I'm guessing, like mostly talking about nano or just like crypto? Like as Mira Hurley, what was the process like going from like the sign up button on Twitter at the time, I think,
Yeah.
and becoming this like behemoth of a like kill him with kindness kind of crypto persona?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because so I worked at the central bank from around 2018 until 2022, I think. And I used to already write quite a bit about nano, about crypto in general, on like Reddit. I would write like these blog posts and sort of try and explain to people why this was sort of worth looking into, why it would sort of make the world a better place, essentially. It was sort of quite idealistic. I never had like a lot of money invested or something. I just really liked the way it could make finance more efficient, make transactions more efficient. And then at one point I realized like, okay, Twitter is the far bigger place to discuss crypto and to discuss nano. But I also worked at the central bank. So I was like, okay, if I do this under my own name, then like it's terrible from both perspectives. Like the central bank is going to be like, okay, what the hell are you saying about central banks, man? And about like how we're inflating currencies. And so I was like, okay, I need them to not know it's me. But also in crypto, if they know you work at a central bank, then you're like the central bank shill, right? Because it always feels like this sort of battle between central banks and crypto. So I figured, okay, it's better on both sides. It's better if they don't know like my other identity. So I figured, okay, let's do a sort of anonymous identity. And this one guy I was talking to at the time, he also wanted to be anonymous. And his theory was the best way to gain followers was to post a lot of funny memes and GIFs and whatever. And I said, like, man, there are just no women in crypto. Like, I'm sure the best way to quickly get followers is be a woman in crypto. And he's like, okay, you try your thing, I'll try mine. So I just went to thispersondoesnotexist.com, which was like a very early image generator, which just generated like people, like realistic looking people. And I picked the first picture of a woman that came up, which was completely randomly generated. I thought she looked Canadian, so I was like, okay, fine, let's like do Canadian name. And Mira Hurley came up. I'm like, wow, that sounds very nice. So then Mira Hurley was born, and I never thought it would get very serious, right? Then I would have put a bit more thought into it. But so then, yeah, Mira Hurley with her like very kind looking face arrived on Twitter. And it's funny how it works because you kind of become the persona in a way. So because I thought she looked so nice and so Canadian, and you assume like all Canadians are nice, I was like, well, she has to be nice to people. Like she cannot just be this sort of attack dog shouting about how all other cryptos suck, but Nano is fantastic. So I was like, okay, she would be this sort of kind person trying to explain to you how this works. So the persona kind of became reality in a way. So yeah, the kill him with kindness was just also just because there's so much toxicity on Twitter, and sort of you can get sucked up into it, but it never leads to anything. I've had this discussion with people quite a lot of times, but like you just get into a shouting match, right? Like you're not gonna sort of take
There's not much
advice.
substance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I always try to just be kind to people. Didn't always work. Like especially as a woman on Twitter, you get called like, okay, you don't know anything. Get back to your kitchen. All that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
yeah. Like it
it.
happened quite often with I think George for Nano too, right? Like a lot of the
Yep.
kind of like online trolls that was happening, and then like uh, it was hard for some people to like take it so seriously because then like their opinion is now kind of like watered down because they're a woman in crypto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas at this point you're like you were posing as a woman, but like
Yeah.
all the others were like changing the profile picture to like laser eyes and like all of the insane kind of like Bitcoin maximalist like theories that was
Yeah.
happening.
I think George had it far worse, though, to be fair. Like, yes, Mira had it bad, but for me, I knew it was sort of the persona, right? So then it's easy to let go of. Whereas George, like, they would dig up old pictures of her and whatever, and yeah, it's honestly terrible. Like, I can very much understand why there are not many women in crypto because it's terrible. Like, it's not a very welcoming space, right? Like, I'm not trying to be some sort of I don't know gender like doing a fight for the women or anything like it, but it is quite a terrible experience compared to just being a sort of normal guy on Twitter. So
I
yeah,
think
it
for
was.
anything like very technical,
Yeah,
and kind of like becomes uh, borderline like sexist or like kind of just like elitist, right? It comes
yeah,
with most technology, but that's a whole different conversation in itself.
yeah,
Navigating with the central bank while you were posing as a woman prior. Central banks are more about, yeah, inflation is great and like good for the economy, whereas like cryptocurrency like enthusiasts are like deflationary currencies are better. What is your take on that kind of like spectrum of the two?
yeah. Yeah, so it was super interesting working at the central bank, right? Because I thought crypto was the better solution, but you kind of really get to hear the best arguments for the other side as well. So if you ask someone in the central bank, they will say we need inflationary currency, like
Yeah.
we need to create more money because we want people to keep spending their money. If your money doesn't become worth less over time, then you're just going to save it up, you're not going to spend anything, and then what happens is the economy slows down, it grinds to a halt. Stores have to close down, nothing gets sold, all that kind of stuff. So that was the central bank perspective on all of this. Whereas people in crypto will say it is really unfair to people to just inflate away the value of their currency, like to print currency and give it to a very select group of people, and to sort of debase the value of this thing that I've worked for. So both sides, I think, kind of have a point in a way, but I also think people within the central bank assume a world that is not really there. Like I don't know how it is for you, but I couldn't stop just spending money if I wanted
What do
to.
you mean? What do you mean assume a world that is not really there? Like, is it
So,
like developing a world that is not there yet, or like seeing a developed world that is not really, it's like my way or the highway type situation. Like,
No, so I think the way they see it with the sort of we need currency to be inflationary because
mhm.
otherwise people will stop spending. I think any person you talk to will say, I cannot stop spending. Like, I will need to buy my food. I need to pay my rent. I need to pay my phone bill, my whatever. It's not just as if people will randomly go like, oh, well, my money is worth more in a year. I guess this year I'm not paying my rent. Like, I think that's just not how the world works. I think maybe people would save a bit more. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I don't think people would stop spending and the economy grinds to a halt. Like even with items or categories that are deflationary, we don't really see people spending less to like buy it later. Like for example, if you have an iPhone, I don't know what number we're up to now. If you have an iPhone 16, I'm just gonna say a random number. If you wait 1 year to buy that iPhone 16, it will be a lot cheaper to buy it, which is essentially in a way the same as deflation. Like your money will buy you more. But no one waits the whole year to buy the iPhone 16 because we want the newest thing now. And in a year, it will be an iPhone 17. So then people end up buying the iPhone 17. So I think what the central bankers largely what they get wrong is two things. I think the spending is not as optional as they think it is. And I think even for things that are optional, there are many other reasons that people would not want to wait with spending, with buying something. Um, and I also think a little bit less spending, incentivizing, like trying to get people to save a little bit more rather than just spend it all immediately is not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, this was my constant disagreement with people at the central bank and a discussion I had like every few days until either I got tired of it or other people got tired of it again. Um, my take is that the inflationary system that we have is just quite unfair. Inflation hits the poorest people the most, really, because the richer you are, the more of your money you don't have in cash, but you have it in like stocks or um, crypto or whatever.
Whatever asset it is, right? Whatever investment vehicle.
Yes, exactly. Whereas if you don't have that much money, you probably just have like a small savings fund in a bank or in your checking account or whatever as like a sort of rainy day fund. And that is what gets inflated away. Like if you have assets, then those just become worth more. So I generally think that inflation is quite an unfair tax on mostly poorer people. It's like a regressive tax, really. And I think crypto is just a more fair system. It doesn't sort of sneakily erode away the value of your money. It's just everything is set in stone. You can check the code, you can check how much inflation there's going to be, or if there's not going to be any inflation at all. So I think it's just a more fair system, and a sort of more simple system in a way, because there's no sort of, it's so arbitrary how much extra money gets created. Like, you work in a central bank, you start really appreciating just how worthless money is in many ways. It's like, okay, press this button and we have a billion extra euros. It's like so hard to wrap your head around.
It's hard to. I mean, like a couple of years ago, right? Like the U.S. Fed just like printed like money out of thin air because of
Yeah.
the pandemic and stuff. It's like stimulating the economy, but that's also like a whole different conversation for like. I mean, I think is it Venezuela or like Zimbabwe that it's like they now like value their currency based on physical weight of like
Ah,
on wheelbarrows and like they weigh the money and then that is the easiest way
yeah.
to know like what actually is the value of that like stack of cash or
Yeah,
what have you,
because
right?
it's so worthless, right? It's like $1 quadrillion for a slice of bread or something. Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane. like I can't even imagine what kind of conversations you had in the boardrooms at the central bank.
It was kind of, so I had a few phases within the central bank. So I've supervised like commercial banks, I've
Uh,
supervised insurance companies, I've worked in financial markets, and then at the end I worked in crypto policy. So that last role was really the sort of most two worlds colliding out of all the roles I had, because yeah, that part was mostly the sort of talking to the higher ups about, okay, what is crypto? How does it work? What are the pros and cons? All that kind of stuff. It was super interesting for sure. I'm glad I did it, but also it wasn't something that I could do for a long time, just because the difference in sort of way of seeing the world is so big between someone who's into crypto and someone who's not just a central banker, but like one of the highest up people within the central bank. So you need to have worked there for 20, 30 years, constantly sort of believing in the central bank story, right? So it's like, yeah, it's the clash of two worlds, really.
I yeah. Uh, the well you were still in the central bank. You were already working on NanoGPT. Is that correct?
No, I started it shortly after.
So
I
shortly
quit central
after.
bank like July or August or something, and I think I started working on NanoGPT like December that year, something around like that time.
With that, you started obviously started it with like you started bootstrapping it with euros. Like, what does that even look like as the founder of that?
Yeah, at the start it was very, very, very simple. So it started with just ChatGPT, just the one model. And I think the first thing I added was the ChatGPT image model, DALL-E at the time.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, which at the time felt revolutionary. And now you look at it, it's like, man, this is so bad. So I would deposit literally just €5 or €10, or I think it was dollars, $5 or $10 with OpenAI. So they have an API. I don't know if that means anything to you. It's essentially, instead of doing a regular subscription at OpenAI, if you want to use it for a sort of business purpose, you need to use their API and you pay for every call that you do to them. So if you send in 1,000 words, you pay more than if you send in 10 words and such. So I would keep a running balance with them. And then I would just let people use the bot that I had built and charge a small markup. I think it was very small to start. I don't even know what it was. But so every time I would start running out of that balance, I would need to convert the nano that I accepted via Kraken or Bitvavo, a Dutch exchange, back to euros, and then I could deposit at OpenAI again. At the start, it was like tiny sums. It was literally $5 and $10 at a time. I remember the first time I changed the automatic recharge to be $20. It was like a big deal. It was like,
Because
wow,
it
okay,
adds up, right? Like it's kind of like somebody vibe coding over the weekend, and then you like leave your API like key, just like you just give it access to it, and then like
yeah,
you wake up to like $1,000 bill on Monday, or like like you're
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
wait, what just happened? Did this all just get approved?
Yeah. But it's so it started just very small, and then Anthropic came along. I think they were pretty much the second. The Llama model started coming through. So at this time, Huggy had sort of suggested like let's set up a website, and we started making it a bit more professional. But still, it was just like open an account at many of these different providers and put some balance there, and then like combine all of it into one front end. And we just kind of kept doing that. We just kept adding more providers. We started adding video as well, and audio and voice and web search and all these kind of tools. And then it just keeps growing from there. But like the basic idea is still very simple. Keep a running balance at many different providers so that people like you as an individual, instead of keeping a balance yourself with all of these different providers where you might want to try the model once, or like just for, I don't know, just for writing a cover letter, you can just use us. So you deposit like $5 one time, and you can spread it out over all the different providers. And how that looks in the backend is still just us having
All spaghetti
running
code.
balances. Yeah, running balances and credit cards open everywhere with all of these different providers. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I mean, Frankensteining the model in the back end, like as long as the consumer just like doesn't see it, like,
Yeah.
and it's a smooth, seamless like experience for them. Like I'm sure like they don't really care about like how it's like being ran on the back end. Like for the
No, no,
longest
exactly.
time, like Twitch, like the live stream platform was like running on Google Calendar, and just like knowing that is just like crazy. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, but it's quite funny because at the start, I think for some we didn't even have auto recharge turned on, or we had like a $50 usage limit set because we were so afraid that it would like we would make a mistake somewhere and we would wake up to this massive bill. So every morning we'll be like, okay, is it all still working? Like, did something break? And it's so funny to think back now to how sort of fickle and sort of fragile it all was. And now it's like, okay, even if OpenAI stops working, like OpenAI goes down, we have Azure as a fallback. Or for like the Claude models, if Anthropic goes down completely, we still have AWS, like Amazon Cloud Services. Or we have also Azure and like Google Vertex. Like nowadays we are like backups stacked on top of backups, stacked on top of backups. Like make sure it's always online, because the early days where we could have like a 5 minute downtime and no one would notice. Now it's like 2 minutes downtime and I get like 1,000 messages. So yeah, it's funny how it's developed. We sometimes think back to it, Huggy and I, like man, it was so simple back then.
what are the current models or providers that NanoGPT is currently utilizing outside of OpenAI's like access keys and like Anthropics? Like, are there any other like platforms that you guys currently use?
I think we currently have, off the top of my head, 87 providers integrated. So, of course, OpenAI and Anthropic, Google, you have all of the big, well known names. But also for open source models like DeepSeek or GLM is a very popular one now, GLM 5.2. Anyone can host those models. So there are many open source model providers that will run this model, and they will try and do so as efficiently as possible because then they can offer a lower price and they get more traffic. So we try to just integrate with every provider that we can so that the user gets as much choice as possible. Like you can choose which provider you want to use. Some only want to use like a EU provider, for example, so we can let you do that. But also because it adds robustness, right? If one provider goes down, we still have like a bunch of other ones, and it kind of gives us negotiating power. Like we want the best possible price. If we have one provider, like they set the price, and it's like, well, I guess we have to take it. If there are 10 that offer the same model, we can be like, well, they are saying they can give it to us for $1. Like, can you beat that price? So that's not something we thought of at the start, but nowadays we're in a position where we can sort of negotiate terms ourselves as well. So yeah, anytime there are new providers, we try to integrate them, because there's very little harm for us in having more providers integrated. It's
Well, of course,
only
like
okay.
having an active user base also like gives you that like negotiating power too for like
Yeah.
the other model providers. That said, what is NanoGPT's like mission? Is it access to multiple models, or is it just access to the best model to achieve their current desired task or query?
Yeah. What we want to do is we want to give everyone everywhere the ability to access any model they want. Like that's the ideal. So no matter where you are in the world, if you have a credit card or not, you should be able to access the top models. We think a world in which only a small percentage has access to the top models is a lot less stable and a lot less desirable than a world in which everyone can have access to top models. Like otherwise you get this sort of you get this sort of almost like levels within society of, okay, I can use the very best model so my business can grow faster. I can do better at my job. I can write better cover letters. I have better medical care. We think like everyone should have access to the top models. So we try to make that as simple as possible by having a very easy to use interface, by having low minimums for top ups, by accepting crypto because many people in the world don't have a credit card. Like we also personally like crypto, right? And we like Nano. We also like other crypto. Um, but it's not even that ideological. It's just very simple. Like not everyone has a credit card. So if you want to give everyone access, like expand your payment options. So yeah, the goal is AI access for everyone to whatever model they want to use, and ideally, this is like something where we can also really play a role. We want people to have some measure of privacy. So we think it is quite a scary world in which all of your data, all of your personal questions about not just health but relationships, your deepest fears, everything is collected into, for example, OpenAI. If there's ever some data leak and you can see Milan de Reede paid with this credit card and then started asking about these subjects, I would prefer if that wasn't all linked to my name. So we try to give people some privacy by being a sort of anonymous layer in between. We don't do logging on our side. We try to make it so that you can be as anonymous as possible. So access for everyone with actual privacy. That's the goal.
People are using it as like a fancy, like sexy Google at that point,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
without like realizing there's context limits, and then like you can just like stack questions on top of questions, and you can go back to your other question, and then like wait, it's not just like a one shot kind of like, hey, who's Mira Hurley, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
what with that kind of like responsibility, how does that look like for you when it comes to like access and educating people that want to use your platform?
Yeah, it is quite difficult in a way because one of the things with having all of the models is it gets kind of overloaded, right, for people. It's like, okay, what do I even use? So what we also do is we have an auto model, it's called. So people that don't know that much about AI, they don't know what model to choose. They choose the auto model, and depending on what sort of question they ask, we will route it to whatever model is best for their task. So let's say they ask a creative writing question, it might go to Claude, let's say.
Right.
They ask something about Chinese history, it might go to DeepSeek. And then in that way, we try to make it sort of lower barrier to entry. So even if you don't really know all of the quirks of the different models, we still try and like route it correctly for you. But honestly, the pure education part on how do you best make use of this, we write blog posts and such, but still it's difficult, right? Because you will always have people who play around with this more. For me, it kind of feels like AI supercharges people who have initiative. Like, not necessarily knowledge, but just initiative. Like, if you're stubborn enough to keep trying things with AI, you will get really far. Like, my girlfriend, fun example, she has no clue about coding, programming, anything related to building a website. But she managed to create a website just by like talking to the AI about how do you create a website? Okay, what do I need to install? Okay, guide me through the steps. So it kind of feels like if there is something you want to do and you're willing to like, I don't know, just do the work in a way, like, and the work is very relative, right? It's like talk to an AI, then you can get very far. But how do you educate people to sort of just try things out and sort of get started and just keep trying and keep improving? I don't really know, because it's also, I talked about this some other time as well. For students, it's quite a sort of split now, I think. Some students see this as great, I can let every essay, every bit of homework, I can have AI do it. And then it's terrible, right? Like they don't learn anything. They just let AI do the thinking. And there are other students who see this as great. I have like a personal tutor. I can have it like infinitely explain to me how this works, how like this math problem should be solved. Um, I don't know how you improve it so that the students who are currently just abusing it for like essays and such become more like the other students. I don't really know. I find that quite difficult myself.
I was speaking to a buddy of mine that teaches world history like recently, and he had noticed that like a lot of the like kind of kids in school that are using AI to like turn in their assignments are just like use like throwing the whatever like school prompt is like right like the syllabus and then tossing it into the LLM, and then it's like, hey, like this is the task and output that I need from my physical teacher like in real life, please do it for me. It's they're
Yeah.
just like they're like becoming routers to the
Yes.
work without even understanding like what actually is like what happened like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, right? Like if it is world history, they're not going to understand world history if like they're just tossing it into a model and then the model outputs this thing which the model perceives it as the thing that the user is like going to be satisfied with the answer.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand the work. So like there's like the two things there where like it's some people are using it as assistants, some people are
Yeah.
using it as a coach or thinking partner. The thing is like since it's so easy to just toss the work to an LLM, it's also so easy to like just forget like what the actual outcome you really want it to be.
Yeah.
And I bring this up because like he had told me is like he knows that like the kids are just using chat gpt to like toss this thing. He unlocks the portal or whatever for like the students, and then like 2 minutes later it's done. It's like, like
It's like,
it's not even like a thing, right? Like
yeah. Yeah, it is going to be quite an issue, I think, right? Like how do you do this in education? I don't really know. Like for some it's definitely a blessing. Like for me it's I feel like for me it's a blessing because I've always wanted to build stuff or to like improve on stuff, or just like create things that other people want to use. And then AI is like a gold mine, right? Like you suddenly have someone who can program or who can create some sort of, well, art is questionable, right? But like who can create some sort of artwork to go with your blog post, all that kind of stuff. So then it's fantastic, but I can very much see the other side. And on the other hand, I also wonder if I'm not like the old man shouting at clouds because sort of this is probably 50 years ago, they probably said this about the calculator, right? But I feel like this is more complete in a way. Calculators just sort of, you can only do calculations that you input yourself, and this takes over your entire thinking in a way. So yeah, I do think it's definitely also very dangerous. I don't know if I have the solution for it, but yeah, it's definitely an issue.
well, yeah, like I think there's a lot of issues that come with such powerful piece of technology. Like
Yeah,
I'm not here like preaching that it's like AGI or ASI whatsoever. I'm saying that like with those kind of like implications in place, like you can't even like always safeguard everyone's like usage for it, right? Like
no, no,
and that's
it,
kind of like the scary part of it. Students of like like people that are like studying world history and what have you in like classrooms are given bad information by LLMs. Then they proceed to like go on to the real world with bad information.
yeah.
Like how does that even like a thing to kind of like navigate the future role in, right? Like
Yeah, yeah. I get conflicted about this sometimes as well because um, people have actual privacy on our service, so we don't see what they do. I just want to make that clear. But people do reach out sometimes and go like, "Man, I'm so happy it wrote my entire thesis," and I'm like, yeah, sure, like good for you, I guess. But like, okay, make sure sort of you also need to do some work yourself, right? So then I'm kind of like, okay, man, is it good for people to have it like this? But then others reach out and it helped with like actual medical issues that they couldn't sort of get solved with the sort of people around them at the time, or they use it for like therapy, where I'm also conflicted because is it as good as a human therapist? No, probably not. But is a human therapist accessible for everyone? Also, probably not. So Yeah, like it's obviously not something we're gonna solve in this conversation, right? But it has just a lot of pros and cons, and it all depends on how you use it, I think. Yeah, it's always the
I would
case with new
argue that it's a great tool for guided learning and like self study and stuff like
yeah,
that. But to completely replace the therapist, I will tread on the side of like humans there because
yeah,
like
yeah.
I think that it's like the safest and also like the most pragmatic route too. With sharing this kind of like technology and access to artificial intelligence and LLMs, right, to people who don't like know much about like what's going on under the hood, do you focus on like how cool it is that it can build a website, a like a budgeting spreadsheet, or do you focus on like what it can potentially do when it comes to like the sharing aspect of it, like not
Mm.
the educational side of things, it's more of like the awareness side of things.
No, I think I almost always focus on just what it can do. Sort of, I don't think people care that much about the actual technical side. They just find it cool what stuff they can now do that they weren't able to before. Like I built like a health dashboard for myself, right? Because I want to be healthier. And then like I know I'm into numbers and like okay, number go up is good. So I need a dashboard. And then I show that to like my dad or my uncle to be like, okay, maybe this is something you could look into as well, right? It can really help here. Or someone wants to start running, but they're like, okay, how do I even get started? What program should I use and what? And it's like, okay, talk to an AI and have them like sort of write out a couch to 5K or what is it, couch potato to 5K, like have them write a sort of meal plan for you for the week if you want to be healthier. So I try to show people many things where people would um, want help. Like it's hard to eat healthy. It's hard to think about like, okay, what kind of stuff can I eat every night? Like try and outsource some of that, right? Because then it's for a good purpose and it actually is really useful for this. If you've always had an idea of something you want to build, just like try and have it create a website, like have it create a basic mock-up, a proof of concept, and see if you still think it's a great idea. You can now share it with some people because you have a website. So I think the sort of actual technology behind it, not that many people care. Like the geeks find it cool, I find it cool, but usually for people it's just what does it actually mean for me, right? And then yeah, then what it can actually do is just really cool to show to people, I think.
Well, yeah, it's like really difficult to share like if it's like your dad or your like uncle or like your aunt that is just like mostly on Facebook or like WhatsApp, like it's hard to geek out on the exciting features like an open claw, like
Yeah, yeah,
Claude harnesses. Like it's hard to like geek out on that or like with them, and there's like fine lines, right? Like a lot of people just kind of like, okay, like this is what it can do, everybody should do it. And then like 3 days later, it's like, wait, Gemini can do this. Like
yeah,
fuck Anthropic, let's do this. Oh wait, actually, like DeepSeek is like better at like generating, I don't know, photos or like,
yeah,
Midjourney is doing that. You're just like whiplashing everybody at that point,
yeah.
and like I think interest goes down after a while. It's just like, dude, like, okay, like I already see this shit on like CNN or like whatever.
Yeah, it moves very fast, right? I think the Google AI mode is good for many people because it's so easily accessible. It's kind of what many people, including like my parents, already know. Like you Google something, but now you have a sort of back and forth Googling. So you
You're
can
talking
like
about
not
Google Gemini, correct?
no, so like
Or
AI mode in Google. So if you just
gotcha.
type into Google, like I don't know, my mother-in-law or like my girlfriend's mom, she wanted to get new hiking boots. And normally you go to a store and they advise you, but you have no clue like is it actually any good, right? They could be saying anything. So she was like asking in Google, like, okay, what are good boots for doing a mountain hike? Because in the Netherlands we don't have mountains, right? So people are not used to having like mountain hiking boots. But then like with Gemini, she could actually go back and forth. And she was like, well, like I probably need something to like stabilize my ankles. And then by the time she came into the store, she's like, well, I've done some research and I know like I need something that goes over my ankles and maybe these and these shoes are the ones I want to try. So like what I'm trying to say is with something that's as easily accessible as the like Gemini AI mode, which is very similar to something people already know, then it like suddenly people understand like, oh, this is quite nice. I have like my own advisor on like any subject I want. I have my own like tutor to learn about things. So yeah, I think just make it easily accessible really helps also for like parents or older generation. If that's like dad, mom, if you're watching, sorry for calling you the older generation. Uh,
We
but
have to keep them sharp, right?
exactly. Yeah. No, my parents actually quite like playing around with it, but I think that's partially because of NanoGPT, right? They want to support me and like try out this weird thing that their son is doing. So yeah,
That just like outweighs what I would even personally learn from a chat bot, and like receiving that like timely like reasonable advice from people is just like irreplaceable. I feel like, but without me like saying that, a lot of people are also like are going to chatbots for advice that people would usually give, and then
yeah,
now they will operate in the real world knowing that like, oh my god, like I have 60 years of like experience in like, I don't know, consulting.
yeah.
uh, you can just kind of tell if you actually have like 40 to 60 years of experience, like who's bullshitting you or not, right?
I think that's going to be a big change for a lot of people right now. Just many of the things that they were always good at or that has been their job and their thing for a long time being sort of taken over by AI is quite a shock to many people, I think. Like, I don't know if that's what you actually meant, but it made me think of Huggy, my co-founder, because at the start, like AI was not that good at programming. It was like, okay, it was decent, but it made like endless mistakes. And it feels like now we've gotten to the point where I think he would also say like it is a match for the top developers. So if your whole identity, your life has been, I am a developer, I am a software engineer, then that must be quite a shock, right? To have something that is suddenly just as good as what you've been training for like 10, 20 years. Yeah, it's going to be quite a transition, I think, for many people.
Yeah, I think like the transition itself is going to empower the people that actually just accept like where technology and the future is headed.
Yeah,
If you're a dentist or a surgeon that is specializing in, I don't know, like a right earlobe or whatever, and like you're the only person that's like able to do that, and you utilize this piece of technology to like further empower and like amplify your specialties already, like in the past like however many years, like I think you will just like be like the creme de la creme of like operators at that point.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
either you're a surgeon or a dentist. Like I think that like being able to utilize these tools to its full extent um, will obviously have a little bit of harm in some ways while people are testing it, but I think it'll just supercharge you as a human being.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point of it, kind of, right? Like make make sort of life easier for people, make people more productive or more efficient, or be able to not have to do the boring parts of their job, or like for programmers, write the sort of simpler functions and the actual implementation while you think about the architecture of how you want to build this thing and the next features you want to add. And yeah, I think that is the shift that many people need to make.
What does your personal AI tech stack look like outside of Nano GPT? Just like I'm sure both are intertwined, but
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
just like your current tech stack.
Yeah, so a lot of Codex, which is the okay, so Claude Code, of course, and then Codex, which is the OpenAI version of Claude Code for those that don't know. Those are the sort of two main drivers, I would say. But then inside of Claude Code and Codex, you can also use other models and other providers. So, for example, I use GLM 5.2 quite a bit via us, which is nice. So we also have an API that you can use. So yeah, sort of Codex can spin up sub agents, which are then like GLM 5.2 to save some costs, and it all runs via our own website to improve our website. So that's quite fun.
How convenient.
Um, yeah, it's man, it's so cool to see. It's like so much fun to see something you've built yourself and be like,
Of
ah,
course.
it's like it works. What else do we use? GPT Image 2 quite a bit now for just sort of banners and stuff to go with our posts. This new Fugu Ultra model from Sakana, it's like only a few days old, but it sort of tries to combine, like tries to always route you to the best possible model in the backend. I've been playing around with it. It actually works really well. So that's kind of gotten into my tech stack at this point. What else do I use a lot? I think those are the ones that I use most. Also sometimes some Minimax M3 just for simple, quick stuff. The Gemini Flash models for when I know it's something very simple and it just needs to be fast.
Did you get the
Yeah,
chance to play around with Fable 5, aka Mythos, like recently? Or
I did. As soon as it released, I used it so much. It is such a fantastic model. I am very sad that it's still gone, but it's an amazing model. I don't know if you had the chance to play around with it, but it really feels like yet another big step up, even compared to GPT 5.5 or Claude Opus 4.8. So yeah, I'm hoping to get it back.
like years ago, I tried building my own kind of like voice modulation like software outside of the like voice changers that are out there, but around like when Whisper.cpp was like coming out and stuff like that, and then like 11 Labs came out, I was
Oh
just
yeah,
like wow, like at first like I'm like wait, this is actually scary, like how good it is, and then
yeah,
second I was just like well okay, well it's just gonna keep getting better at this point, like I just have to like adapt at that point, and like seeing Fable 5 and like what it did for the whatever like 72 hours that it was out, yeah, like I just can't even imagine like what are the capabilities that are like that it can do like once it's like publicly released too.
yeah. Or like the full Mythos model, right? Which only a very select group has access to. So the sort of reason currently for not wanting to release it, all the cybersecurity risks and the biotech risks, I get it. Like the model does seem so amazingly competent that if you, I think the whole jailbreak story is a bit overblown. But like if you could actually jailbreak Fable and have a sort of uncensored Mythos, yes, that is very dangerous. Like anyone can build anything really at that point. So yeah, it's a crazy world, man. Like the Fable 5, I really did not expect it to be this good. I thought it was like a bit hyped up by Anthropic because they were hyping Mythos so much. And then it came out, I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And everything I throw at it is just like, okay, perfect the very first time. So yeah,
Yeah, I think Anthropic just as a company and organization just don't mess around with like anything that powerful, especially being a US company,
yeah,
and being able to like release it to the common pedestrian. I think that like yeah, I don't want to imagine a world where like that goes, right? Like I mean there's already like a lot of stuff from the past with Chat GPT and even like like doing the workarounds with like Anthropic's models and like all these things, and that's like a whole different conversation that I'm sure we could revisit at some point. Um, what does that even like entail when it comes to using these providers and models for NanoGPT? Like, how does that feedback loop kind of shape your company's like next couple of months, next couple of years?
yeah. It's kind of difficult because we don't really do roadmaps or like any sort of actual planning. I've been asked this like quite a few times, like, okay, what's in the cards for the next months, or weeks or years or whatever. We don't know. We really don't know because most of the stuff that we add is purely based on user demand. So if our users request something, that is like the biggest signal we have that we should be adding this. So quite a few of the features that we've added over time have just been, okay, users request this, so let's add video, let's add web search, let's add TEE models, which are like more private versions of open source models. Um, so usually we just go off of user feedback or what we think would improve the service further, which really can shift week by week. So fairly recently, I randomly came across a service that lets you redact personal information. So essentially, you send in a prompt, but in your prompt, there might be something that says Jason, and it might have like jason@gmail.com or whatever, and some personally identifiable information in there. I don't know, a bank account number or something. Um, what we then added was something where before that prompt ever reaches the provider, so let's say OpenAI, it goes through us and we use a local model, so like on the machine only, that checks the whole message and replaces all that personal information with like, okay, Jason becomes name one. Bank account number that's like written out there becomes bank account number one. So then by the time it gets to the actual provider, they don't get any of the personal information, right? They only get the placeholders, and then when they send the response back, we do the placeholder stuff again. So that was purely something we came across, and we were like, this is going to improve privacy for people even further. And we know, like, okay, we think privacy is very important. Our users think privacy is very important. So let's add it in. So yeah, I would love to pretend we have this long-term plan of, okay, next week we go this, next month we have this, but it's honestly make it up as we go along, and improve based on user feedback constantly. That's the thing.
Was encryption and this kind of like layer of protection for the user always been a interest for you, and kind of just like something that you care about before even like pushing something out?
Yes. So much of the privacy stuff comes from the Mira Hurley times. Just I value privacy. I think you kind of don't really value privacy until something happens, right? And for many people in the world, sort of they value anonymity online because of their government, because of just not having trust in the institutions around them. For me, like I grew up in quite a quite a proper country, right? Netherlands. So for me, all of that was kind of far away. But then the Mira Hurley Twitter persona, at one point I had this big post about Bitcoin's issues, and why I thought it wasn't going to work out in the long run. I had this whole big post. It kind of blew up, and then some Bitcoin enthusiasts managed to somehow find out what my real name was and reached out to the central bank where I worked at the time, to the Dutch central bank. And they kind of reported me to the central bank. They were like, okay, you should know your employee is saying this on Twitter. And they had like a whole list with timestamps of all of the times that I posted, the ones that were during Dutch working hours, the ones where I was like bad mouthing the central banks. So they kind of doxed me to the central bank, which was a bit ridiculous, and also sent like death threats, also on Reddit and on Twitter. So then you kind of start appreciating, like, okay, it is nice to have sort of an identity that can be separate, where they don't link it to your work, they don't link it to your real person. So yeah, being doxed kind of made it feel more important to me, I guess, made me appreciate privacy a lot more. So yeah, ever since, like nowadays, I'm
Well,
out here with my face, sadly. um, there's no getting past that anymore. But so it makes me really appreciate privacy, and it makes me have a lot more sort of respect for people that do their best at safeguarding their privacy, because you never know how valuable it is until something goes wrong. So yeah, everything we build in NanoGPT, we try to make it so that you can be as private as possible. You don't need to give us your name. Please don't, in fact. You don't need to sign up with an email. You can just be completely anonymous. You get like a sign-in token. You can pay with crypto, which are anonymous. So yeah, we try our best to give actual anonymity to people.
Well, that person, that Bitcoin maximalist or whatever, like just you were attacking their kind of like, identity at that point,
Yeah,
because they were
yeah.
like, pushing for, Bitcoin and stuff like that. I like Bitcoin as a store of value, but then also like, that's a whole different thing entirely. And like, you do the comparison between Bitcoin, Nano, Monero, Zcash, all that stuff. That's a whole topic. It's unfortunate that people that use the layer of privacy to attack others is a thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry that happened. That sucks.
I like nowadays it's not so bad anymore. At the time you become a bit more suspicious, also because they like some of the stuff they sent would have my home address and whatever. So you become a bit more like, it's 99% keyboard warriors, but still it's not a nice thing to see.
It's like
um,
being like it's like being swatted when you're like live streaming, right? Like that's a
yeah,
thing, and like
yeah.
that's fucking scary.
Yeah. So I do have to say, to the credit of the central bank, they were super chill about it. They were like, we don't care, like keep doing your thing. Um, but be aware that there are some people out there like gunning for you. But yeah, they were super chill about it.
Did you find out about this kind of like threat and malicious actor to your personal life through the central bank that you were working at, or was it like you just found out like, oh, like I'm getting death threats on my fucking text?
No, so the messages I could just see coming in, right, on Twitter and on Reddit. But the being doxed to my work, yeah. So what they did was they contacted the compliance department of the central bank. And then the compliance department contacted me like, hey, Milan, we need to talk. I actually knew some of the people from the compliance department from running events, which was quite funny. So he's like, well, this is a slightly different scenario we're talking about now, right? This is not just like all fun and games. But yeah, so I heard from them. They essentially informed me like, this is going on. This is the message we got, or messages actually. This is exactly what they sent. We don't know who it is. We have no interest in pursuing this in any way. Just be aware.
Oh, at least like that's a good like move on their part, right?
Yeah, they were super chill. Yeah.
Coming from the crypto conversation, really quick, like what are the kind of like types and of like cryptocurrency vehicles that you accept on NanoGPT?
Like I would say any crypto that you can name, we probably accept it. So of course, Nano, the name NanoGPT would suggest so. Monero, Zcash, Zeno, Bitcoin, of course, and Lightning, Litecoin, Tron, all of the stable coins, Ethereum, Solana, Doge, Dash, like it is so many. We accept pretty much all of the coins that are actually used. And for the ones that we don't accept natively ourselves, we have a sort of inbuilt swap that you can use, which is slightly worse experience, but it allows us to like also accept anything else essentially. But yeah, if the coin is used, we probably accept it. We also publish payment statistics every month.
Oh,
So
cool.
we kind of do that to show people these are the coins that are actually used, because many coins kind of talk a big game, right? They're like, oh man, we are integrating with all of the banks worldwide, like XRP, for example. And then we add XRP and it's like no one uses it. Whereas a small coin like Nano, right? Like it's used a lot. Monero, it's used so much. It's been our most used coin for more than a year straight now, I think. So yeah, we try to publish the statistics so that other merchants, if they want to start accepting crypto, they can sort of look at the list and be like, okay, if we have to pick one, let's start with Monero or Bitcoin or Nano. So yeah, we try to sort of help other people get started with crypto that way.
That's great. Do you take Bitcoin?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I was just wondering because like I haven't seen the numbers that you guys publish, and I'm sure that's like super informative.
Yeah, Bitcoin is the second most used coin in most months. Second or third. Like Nano and Bitcoin kind of swap places constantly. Monero is like lonely at the top, and then it's Bitcoin and Nano.
Well, I think the Monero users, they're more inclined for like privacy and like
Yeah.
they're definitely like the people that care about anonymity and like that layer of protection too.
Yeah, no, true. And they also give great feedback because they sort of try to use other services that also try to like improve their anonymity in some way. So the sort of anonymous sign-in token stuff that we had actually comes from Mulvat VPN.
Oh,
So
Mulvat.
some Monero users were like, check out Mulvat, how they do it. And we're like, yeah, okay, this is a great solution. Let's go with this. So yeah, great feedback from the Monero people as well.
Did you get the chance to see the recently released like X Money feature to a select Premium Plus subscribers for Twitter or like now X.com?
I did not get access, I guess because I'm not like my account was made in the Netherlands, I think. And I think it's mostly rolling out to US citizens so far, right? So I did read a bit about it, but I didn't get to try it out myself. And I only know the sort of very basics. It would be cool if they can pull it off. Like, it would be nice to be able to send money directly to people on X.
I bring that up because also like that is a version of P2P like currency.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the question, right? Like, is it peer-to-peer or is it like X Twitter can turn it off at any time, right? That's the sort of biggest question. Like, I guess X will go quite far to defend people's sort of freedom in a way, but still, it's in another way. Like, if you want to be cynical about it, it's just shifting from like you use the bank to you use X for this. It's just a new party that can sort of censor you, right? Whereas with Dogecoin or with other crypto, the whole idea would be there is no single entity that can censor you. I say all of this without actually having looked into X money much, right? So it could be could be that they are doing something entirely different than what I'm saying here. In which case, apologies for criticizing it unfairly, but
Well, it's like initial impressions, right? Like I saw it, I was just like, oh, okay, like they're trying to do their own like version of Venmo and like Zelle, but within like a social platform. It's
yeah,
kind of like reminds me of it's basically American WeChat, I think, and then like
yeah,
you can just
yeah.
like or Apple Cash, iMessage, all that.
I guess that's what they're going for, right? The sort of super app, which China clearly has, and the US is kind of missing. Europe is also kind of missing.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything that makes it easier for people to just send money to others is a good thing, right? Like if nothing else, it's increased competition for banks to try and improve the way they function. So yeah, definitely a good thing.
Are there any other like essentials that you have that are not your MacBook or, an OpenAI subscription? What are some day-to-day life essentials for you for Milan DeReede?
Oof. Yeah, my phone would probably be the only other thing. I have very few essentials. So we travel quite a lot, and we also travel sort of very much backpacker style. So I have my laptop and I have my charger, and then a lot of NanoGPT has been built from like hostel beds or just literally being outside some place where Esther is doing some work, and I'm like, okay, I'll just sit outside and work here. What do I have that's actually essentials? Mm, it's not that much. I think if you give me some running clothes, I'll be happy because then I can do my workouts. I like having my headphones so I can tune out everything else and just have my music and my podcasts. Um, no, I don't really have that much else that I really need. Um, I,
Simple
I, I
man, a
I try and
stoic.
live a simple life, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even sitting on a chair here, so I'm really living the stoic life.
Yeah, what's the setup? You said you're sitting on a floof thing.
I'm sitting on some fluffy, yeah, I don't know how to show you without like also showing the little backpack here that's open and full of stuff. But this
We
hotel
just
room
leave
does
it.
not
Like
have this
I
shop.
don't want to reveal to the viewers that you might be like, you're just like in your boxers at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I often do these calls. No, no, no.
Uh, Back to NanoGPT, finally, right? Like, which, by the way, I'm curious, like, if you would ever rebrand it to a different name, just because,
Oh yeah.
it's like a whole different service entirely. Yeah, do you have you ever considered that whatsoever?
Yeah, we've been asked about this before because we started with just Nano, right? And nowadays it's so much more than just Nano. And also because sometimes our users think that we issue Nano, the coin. So they think like, oh man, you're one of those crypto bros, you issue your own coin and you try to get rich quick. And we're like, man, we are not getting rich off of Nano. Trust me, that is
Yeah,
not what this is doing. Um, we do not really consider rebranding just because at this point it has gotten like big enough that the name NanoGPT is known
is
by
a
many
thing,
people.
right?
Yeah. And also Nano is quite kind of multifunctional, right? Like at the time it was like we like Nano and we combine Nano and ChatGPT, NanoGPT, very simple. But Nano kind of does fit what we do because Nano is also just small, right? So you can do just deposit $1 or 10 cents in crypto, and you can do these queries. You can do a small query, you can do a big query, you can do one time. So it's kind of for all of the. We have many users who barely spend anything. They just use us for like their most pressing questions. So having Nano GPT, like a mini sort of GPT that you can use, we quite like that name, even if it's no longer just Nano the coin. So no, I don't think we're going to rebrand it. That said, we do have some partnerships. So for example, ai.bitcoin.com, which is a very nice domain. We run the AI part of that, so it's like in partnership with the
That's cool.
bitcoin.com wallet. So I think if we ever were to do something like that, we would just keep Nano GPT, but also like spin up a new, I don't know, everything GPT, or probably a better name than that, I would hope. But no serious plans to rebrand in any sense. We did change our
That's
logo a while
so
back
exciting.
because our original logo was DAL-E generated and it was terrible. So we ended up doing a bit of a contest to create our new logo.
Was it a user generated like kind of contest that you kind of put out for like
Yeah,
people that used it? That's cool.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we just did a contest and we are like, okay, anyone who wants to participate, I think we had like a week or something that we gave them for it, and they could just submit on Twitter. And I think we paid first prize. I don't actually know. I think it was like 150 nano, not that much. We were not making much money. Like we are a very low margin business. Um, but yeah, so they created this sort of. There were quite some good submissions, to be honest, and they created this sort of diamond, which we really quite liked. So yeah, since then that's been our logo. It's much better than the DAL-E generated initial thing that we had.
If you were to pick an interim CEO for NanoGPT, who would it be? So let's say you're on a run, right? You're on a run, Milan. You're on a run with his girlfriend for like the next, couple of months, half a year, whatsoever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
who would you pick as an interim CEO to take over outside of your co-founder, obviously?
I was gonna say I'm lucky. Like Huggy would just do it. Who would I pick as my co-founder? Um, I think the sort of obvious answer would be everyone wants Elon Musk to be their CEO, so that would be a very simple and easy one. I think I really respect Patrick Collison as well. He I think ships fast, but also yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's very good at the operational side as well. So I feel like we could probably improve on the operational side and just the sort of structured side of NanoGPT. So I think there he could really improve a lot. So yeah, off the top of my head, who else could I think of? I honestly no, I don't really know who else. But yeah, Patrick, if you're looking for some other challenge, I will gladly resign my title. You can come in. Uh,
Funny. I mean, if only, right?
Yeah,
That'd be
would be
amazing.
very nice. I would very much welcome it. I also spend quite a lot of time listening to the Moonshots podcast with like Peter Diamandis and there's a few good guys in there. I think most of those would make for a good interim CEO as well, because all of them are so excited about AI and like about what it can do and like wanting to push it quicker, get it out to more people. So I feel like in terms of the vibes, they would very much align with what we're trying to do with NanoGPT. But yeah, otherwise, Patrick.
As we're wrapping up, is there any like words of kind of like encouragement for people that are both like worried about like where AI is going and like how good it's going to be, and second, like also very excited about like where it's headed? What is like a piece of advice or even just like wisdom that you've had in the past like however long too in a central bank?
Yeah, I don't know if I have that much wisdom to share, but I think the sort of if you ever consider building something, or if there has ever been anything you want to learn or study or just give a try at any time, now is like there is literally no better time to try it out than now. Like all of the things that I'm doing now with NanoGPT, I would never have been able to do 3, 4 years ago. Um, and it just gives you so much extra power. Like if you don't know anything about setting up a business, it used to take a lot of time to like go to a bunch of people and have them explain basic stuff to you, have them explain basic accounting to you, how to set up a website. Nowadays, all of that can just be done. So I think both for people who are worried about AI and for people who are wondering what to do with it, like just trying and getting to know what AI can do now, what it's good at, what it's not yet so good at, what sort of how you can best combine your skills with what AI offers is probably the most advantageous thing to do right now, the best thing you can do right now. Um, just because, yeah, it's such a multiplier on anything that you want to do that it's almost like a cheat code. Anything now that I want to do, I'm like, man, it's so much faster than it used to be, and it's so much better than it used to be. So yeah, I think the only real advice I can give is just experiment with it, try it out, see. Even if you're very afraid of what AI can do, you can still use AI to learn quicker about like, okay, what are people actually working on in terms of containing dangerous AI or like making sure AGI doesn't kill us all, right? Like, what are the top ideas here? What are the papers to read? How can I contribute? Like, it's very ironic, but even there, AI can help you. So yeah, I would say even if you're against the technology, don't ignore it. Like, try it out at least and see what it's good for.
What a nice like cherry on top. It seemed like cryptocurrency, what initially had brought you and I like together. Now in the artificial intelligence world, like as long as you're trying to like see what you can do with it, it just helps you out.
Yeah, it's there are so many possibilities now, man. I know I sound very cliche when I say that, but it really is true. It's all of the things you couldn't do a few years ago are now just a few prompts essentially away. So yeah.
Well, Milan, thank you so much for hopping on. Where can people find you after the show, and like if they're interested, and any other closing remarks from you?
Yeah, so the website is nanogpt.com. It used to be nano-gpt.com, but we bought a very expensive domain, so now we are nanogpt.com. You can also find me personally on Twitter, on X. It's Milan, Milan underscore de Reede, Dereede. So yeah, I'm not always very active on Twitter anymore. One of the downsides of building cool stuff is you don't get to post so much anymore because you're busy building. But yeah, if you ever want to find me or chat with me or reach out, find me on Twitter.
Thank you so much, Milan. I appreciate you and our history together as just a persona, and now as Milan DeReede.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
All right, man. Thanks.
Hope you guys found some value in that. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Check out NanoGPT. And don't forget to buckle your seatbelt. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.